In this video, I'll be sharing with you a tutorial on how to cut a simple beginner corset pattern. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button. So to start, here is my pattern and I've gone ahead to mark out my basic measurement, which includes my shoulder to bust, under bust, waistline, and I added 5 inches to get my blouse length. So after I'm done marking this, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to insert my shoulder measurement. So I'm going to mark my shoulder divided by 2. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2. I have 7. I'll come down by 1 inch. Now I'm going to draw my shoulder slope, which I'll go ahead to mark my neckline of 3 inches first. Now I'll place my ruler and connect. Next, I'm going to find my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and I'll draw out a straight line there. Now on the chest line, I'll go back and mark my shoulder divided by 2, and I'll place my ruler to draw out a straight line. Now I'm going to divide my armhole into 2 and mark, and I'll come in by ½ inch. Now on the chest line, I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, connect from that point to the midpoint, and I'll be connecting this to the upper part of my pattern. After I'm done cutting this out, I'm going to mark my dart, which I'll start by marking my nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches, which I'll mark all the way to the lower part of my pattern, and I'll draw out a straight line. Now after I'm done marking this, I'm going to go ahead to mark out my basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches at the upper part. Now I'm going to go ahead to divide the remaining part of my shoulder into 2. Place my ruler and I'm going to connect from the bust to that point. Now it's time to take my dart intake, and I'll be using 1 inch on both sides of my pattern. Now if you're plus size, go ahead to use 1.5 inches on both sides of your pattern, or if you're a bit busty, you can use 1.5 inches. So after that, I'll place my ruler and I will draw out a straight line. I'll also go ahead to repeat the same process on the other side of my pattern. Now after I'm done marking this, I'm going to place my ruler and I'm going to connect from the bust to the under bust. Now after I'm done connecting, the next step I'll take is to outline my pattern. Now you want to determine where your cup will be. You can use 1.5 inches for a normal size bust, but if you're a bit busty, consider using 2 inches or 2.5 from that point, or you can take your measurement from the shoulder part. Now for the dart at the upper part, I'm using 1 inch. Let's say you're on the plus size, you can use 1.5, or you're a bit busty, you can use 1.5. But let's say your bust is not too big or small, you can consider using 1.25 inches. 1.25 inches on both sides. So now I'll just use my marker and I'll blend that out. Next step is to insert your measurement. I'll mark my bust divided by 4, which is 33 inches divided by 4. I'll mark. Then I'll pick the dart I have here and then add the sewing allowance I'm using for my pattern. At the under bust, I'll mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure this dart intake here, and I'll replace, then add my sewing allowance. Here I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace, and add my sewing allowance. Now for the blouse length, I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake I have there, replace, and add my sewing allowance. So I'm making this a beginner friendly pattern, so I didn't go ahead to snatch out the waist. I just left it at the basic waistline of the person that you're working on the pattern for. Now the next step I'll take is to come up by 2 inches from the side, and after that I'm going to place my ruler and I'm going to connect. Blend out your dart and go ahead to connect this all the way down. After you're done cutting this or marking this, go in by ½ inch from your chest line, or you can go down a bit, that is depending on where you want your curve bridge to be. Now I'll place my curve drill and connect. So I want my curve bridge to start at the chest line area, and after that I'm going to go ahead to use my free hand to connect. So I prefer using my free hand so that I'm going to know what I actually want, the shape I want at this part. So for the side, you're going to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2 and add half. If you're on the smaller size, let's say you're a bit busty, you should consider adding 1 inch. Unless you're very busty, let's say your bust is up to 50 inches, you can add like 1.5 inches to your pattern. Now I went ahead to blend out the armhole, and from here I'll mark ½ inch and I'll connect. So I'm trying to have like a 3-part corset pattern, and from here also I'm going to blend to the other side. So I'm sorry that this video is a bit fast. I'm trying to rush up because of time. Here I'll go ahead to label my pattern. So now this is my pattern, and you can measure what you have from the shoulder to your corset pattern to know the length of the sleeve you cut out for the front. So when I measured, what I have there is about 6 inches. So you can also measure what you have for the back. You will now know the length that you're supposed to use to add your strap or sleeve that you want to add to your corset pattern. So I'll just go ahead and cut this out, and if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please kindly hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, leave your comment also at the comment section. So I'm just going to cut out my pattern, and after I'm done cutting, this is what I have, and we move over to the back pattern. Now this is a basic corset pattern. If you notice, I didn't use a bust dart. Now I've marked out all my measurements just like I did for the front pattern. So I'll just go ahead and add a basic neckline of 3 by 1 inch for the neckline of the dress. So what I have at the back is my shoulder to bust line and my shoulder to waistline, then I added ½ inch. So now this is just a basic corset pattern that is beginner friendly, which I didn't use a bust dart for. So after that, I'll be inserting my measurements to it. So at the bust, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. Mark my waist circumference divided by 4, then add the sewing allowance to it. So here I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4 and I will add the sewing allowance. So after I'm done marking that, I'm just going to go ahead to place my ruler, and I'm going to connect this from the waist to the upper part, and I will connect to the lower part of the pattern also. So for this pattern, I'll be leaving it in form of a dartless corset pattern to make it easier for you. So I also used a similar method in our previous video. So I'll just go ahead to cut this out, and after cutting this out, I'm going to now go ahead to come down by ½ inch from the chest line, and after marking that, I'll place my ruler and I'll connect. Now I'm going to mark the lacing area, which I'm going to be using 2 inches. You can use any measurement of your choice. Sorry. After marking that 2 inches, I'll place my ruler and draw a straight line. Now I'll just make a dot to indicate I have a lacing bar at that side. So after this, I'll go up by 2 inches and I'll go ahead to connect this all the way to the lower part of my pattern this way. After marking this, I'm just going to go ahead to cut out my pattern. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed, please kindly hit on the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.